Okay, so have you ever played around with like those AI tools everyone's talking about? Like maybe asked it to help you brainstorm ideas or
Yeah.
summarize a really long article for school or something like that.
Right.
A lot of people our age are starting to use them, but it's like, how do you go deeper?
Yeah.
How do you really use these things well and not just like scratch the surface?
Absolutely.
So that's what we're doing in this deep dive today. We're talking all about prompt engineering.
Okay.
And that sounds kind of complicated, but really it's just the art of like talking to AI
Right.
and getting it to give you what you want.
Exactly.
So we've got a ton of different techniques from our sources to break down.
Yeah.
And essentially, we want you to come away from this deep dive knowing how to use these tools better
For sure.
and with more intention.
Yes, and to like really get a sense of what they can do.
Okay, so the first technique we have here is prompt echoing.
Prompt echoing.
And this one seems almost too simple. But it's basically just telling the AI to repeat your prompt back to you before it starts answering.
Okay, I see. So it's like, you're asking someone a really important question.
Yeah.
You might say, hey, can you repeat that back to me just to make sure we're on the same page?
Exactly. And it's the same idea with AI.
Okay.
It just helps to reinforce that context and make sure the AI is focused on exactly what you want.
I see. That makes sense.
Our source actually gives a really good example. It says,
Okay.
can you explain the process of photosynthesis? Repeat the question before starting answering.
Oh, okay.
So that little instruction at the end is really key.
I see.
It's like saying, hey, make sure you understood what I'm asking before you go off and, give me a whole essay on something else.
Right. That makes sense. So it's like a check for understanding, basically.
Exactly.
And it also probably helps with like, sometimes the AI can kind of misunderstand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Even though it's, super smart.
Yeah.
It can still make mistakes.
Yeah.
So this helps to reduce the chances of that happening.
Right. So that's prompt echoing, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about how much information you actually give the AI when you're prompting it.
Okay.
Our sources talk about something called zero-shot prompting.
Zero shot.
Which sounds a little bit like you're just throwing something out there and hoping for the best.
Right. Kind of like a Hail Mary pass in football.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just hoping it gets caught.
And with zero-shot prompting, you're basically asking the AI to do something without giving it any specific examples beforehand.
Wow. So you're really relying on just general knowledge then.
Yeah, you're relying on all that training data it's been fed, which is a lot.
I bet.
But it's kind of mind-blowing what it can do.
Yeah.
Like one of the examples here is write a summary of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
And the source even gives like a sample response from an AI, and it's actually pretty good.
Wow.
It hits all the main points. It's like the AI has actually read the book.
Yeah. So it really shows you how much these AI models have learned.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been trained on so much text data
Yeah.
that they can do things like that,
Yeah.
even without any specific examples.
Right. And that's what's so cool about zero-shot prompting.
Yeah.
But it's worth noting that sometimes with zero-shot, the results can be a bit more general,
Okay.
like not as tailored to what you might have in mind.
Right, because you're not giving it any specific guidance.
Exactly.
It's just kind of doing its best with what it knows.
Okay, so zero-shot is like testing the waters.
Yeah.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have few-shot prompting.
Okay, few shot.
And this is more like you're giving the AI a little bit of a hint,
Right.
a little nudge in the right direction.
I see.
So instead of just giving it the task, you give it a few examples first.
Okay.
And those examples kind of act like a mini training session within the prompt itself.
Ah, that's interesting.
So it's like showing the AI the pattern or the style you want it to follow.
Okay.
The example in our source is really clever. It uses synonyms.
Okay. So it gives the AI happy, joyful, cheerful, content,
Yeah.
and then big, large, huge, enormous.
Yeah.
And then it asks fast.
So it's like a little game.
Yeah, and the expected answer would be like quick, speedy, rapid.
Right.
So you're basically teaching the AI to come up with words that have similar meanings.
I see. So you're giving it a few examples and then it can apply that pattern to a new word.
Exactly, and that's what's so cool about few-shot prompting.
Yeah.
Even just a few examples can really influence the AI's output.
That's amazing.
Okay, so we've looked at asking with no examples with zero-shot.
Right.
And asking with a few examples with few-shot.
Right.
Now, our sources introduce this core set of techniques called text-to-text.
Text-to-text.
And it sounds pretty basic, but it's actually really fundamental.
Okay.
It's basically just giving the AI text as input
Okay.
and then getting text as output.
Right.
But the AI has done something to that text. It's transformed it in some way. I see. So it's not just spitting back the same text. It's actually processing it and doing something with it.
Exactly. It's like the AI is thinking about the text and then presenting it in a different way.
Okay.
The example here is taking a sentence that's kind of complicated,
Yeah.
like, the precipitation levels have significantly increased over the last decade due to climate variability.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, and asking the AI to rewrite it in simpler terms.
Oh, okay.
So it's taking something that might be hard to understand
Right.
and making it more accessible.
I see.
And this could be really useful for all sorts of things, like explaining complicated topics to friends, or even just understanding things better yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Like, imagine you're reading a really dense article.
Yeah,
You could just ask the AI to simplify it for you.
exactly. Or if you're trying to learn about a new subject,
Right.
you could ask the AI to explain it in simpler terms.
That's so cool.
So text-to-text is really about using AI to make information more understandable and usable.
Right, and I bet there are tons of different ways to use it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like you could use it to summarize long articles,
Okay.
translate languages,
Wow.
simplify academic papers,
Right.
even just reformat text for different purposes.
So it's like a Swiss Army knife for text.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Okay, so now let's talk about adding a bit of personality to our prompts.
Okay, personality.
This first one is called role-play persona.
Role play.
And this is where you basically ask the AI to pretend to be someone else when it's generating its response.
I like that.
Like you give it a specific role or a persona to adopt.
Mm,
And that can really change the tone and the style of the AI's output.
that makes sense.
The example here is, you are a doctor. Explain the symptoms of diabetes to a patient in simple language.
Ah, so you're telling the AI to take on the role of a doctor.
Exactly. And that means you're not going to get like a super technical medical explanation. You're going to get something that a regular person can understand.
That's really helpful.
And this could be really useful if you're trying to learn about a medical condition yourself,
Yeah.
or if you need to explain something to someone else in a way that's easy to digest.
Exactly.
So role play is all about using persona to get more specific and tailored responses from the AI.
Right, and I bet it could be used for all sorts of things,
Oh, yeah.
not just medical stuff.
It's like you could ask the AI to be a chef
Okay.
and give you a recipe,
Huh.
or a lawyer and explain a legal concept,
Right.
or even a fictional character.
That's so cool.
The possibilities are pretty much endless.
I love that.
Another technique for getting organized information from the AI is the interview pattern.
Interview pattern.
And this is basically like setting up a little question and answer session.
Okay, with the AI.
Yeah, you structure your prompt as if you're interviewing the AI, and you ask it to both ask and answer the questions.
So it's like the AI is playing both roles.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
The example here is, as a hiring manager, interview an AI specialist. Ask 5 key questions and answer them.
Wow, so you could use this to prepare for a job interview.
Yeah, like if you were applying for a job in the tech field,
Right.
you could see what kind of questions a hiring manager might ask
That's so smart.
and how an AI specialist might answer them.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to get insights into a particular field or profession.
Absolutely. And I bet it could also be used for like research or just learning about a new topic.
Totally. Like you could interview a historical figure
Ugh,
or a scientist or an artist.
that would be so cool.
The interview pattern is a really versatile technique for getting structured information from the AI.
I'm starting to see how powerful this prompt engineering stuff really is.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's amazing what you can do when you know how to talk to the AI.
for sure.
Okay, now let's move into some techniques for tackling more complex problems.
Okay, complex problems.
This first one is called chain of thought prompting.
Chain of thought.
And it's kind of like asking the AI to show its work.
Like back in math class.
Exactly. You know that you had to write out all the steps? Yeah. It's the same idea with AI.
Okay.
You're basically encouraging the AI to break down a complex problem into smaller steps
I see.
and then explain its reasoning at each step.
So you're not just getting the answer, you're getting the whole process.
Exactly. And that can be really helpful for understanding the logic behind a solution,
That makes sense.
not just the solution itself.
Right.
The example here is solve 27 by 43 step by step and explain each calculation.
Okay, so instead of just getting like 1161,
Yeah.
you would see how the AI actually got there.
Exactly. Like you would see it break down the problem into smaller multiplications and additions.
Right.
And then you would see the reasoning behind each step.
So you could actually follow along and understand the process.
Exactly. And that can be really helpful for learning
For sure.
or for debugging if the AI makes a mistake.
Ah, I see. That makes sense.
Okay, so chain of thought prompting is all about making the AI's thinking visible,
Right.
so you can understand how it's arriving at its answers.
That's really cool.
Building on that idea of step-by-step thinking, We have tree of thought prompting.
Tree of thought.
And this one is even more involved because it's not just about following a single chain of thought.
Right.
It's about exploring multiple possibilities at once.
Like a tree with branches.
Exactly. The AI is branching out and considering different options.
That's interesting.
The example here is listing 3 renewable energy sources.
Okay.
And then having the AI analyze the pros and cons of each
Mm-hmm.
and then decide which one might be the best.
Based on certain criteria.
Right.
So it's like a decision-making process.
Yeah, it's like the AI is weighing different factors and trade-offs before arriving at a conclusion.
And I bet this could be really useful for brainstorming.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like if you're trying to come up with different approaches to a problem.
Right. Or if you're trying to make a decision.
Exactly.
This could help you explore all the different options.
So tree of thought prompting is a great way to encourage the AI to think more broadly and creatively.
I like that.
Okay, now let's zoom in on a really fundamental idea.
Okay.
Atom of thought.
Atom of thought.
And this is like the most basic building block of creating prompts. It's the smallest unit of instruction or idea that you use
I see.
when you're crafting prompts.
So it's like the atoms of a prompt.
Exactly. And even the most complex prompts are built up from these little atoms of thought.
That's a cool way to think about it.
The example here is generate a list of 5 healthy breakfast recipes.
Okay. That seems pretty straightforward.
Right, but even that simple request is made up of multiple atoms of thought.
Like generate is one atom,
Yeah.
list is
It's
another,
okay.
5 is another,
Right.
and healthy breakfast recipes is another.
Exactly. So even when you're just asking for something simple,
Right.
you're still using these building blocks of thought.
That makes sense.
And understanding this can help you create more effective prompts.
Because you're thinking about the individual pieces
Yeah,
and how they fit together.
exactly.
That's really helpful.
Okay, now for a technique that might sound a little backwards at first.
Okay, backwards.
Reverse prompting.
Reverse prompting.
And this is where you start with the answer
Okay.
and ask the AI to figure out the question.
So you're giving it the output and
Yeah.
asking it to come up with the input.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
The example in our source gives the response. The community garden will feature a central seating area surrounded by raised beds, a section for herbs, a small pond, and a pathway made of recycled materials.
Okay, so that's the answer.
Yeah, and then it shows the prompt that could have led to that answer.
Okay, let's hear it.
Describe the layout for a community garden that promotes sustainability and provides a relaxing space for residents.
Ah, I see. So that response fits that prompt perfectly.
Right, but it's interesting to think about going the other way around.
Yeah, like starting with the answer
Yeah.
and then trying to figure out the question.
Exactly, and this can be really useful if you see an interesting AI-generated response.
Okay.
You want to understand how it got there.
Like, how did it come up with that?
Yeah, or if you want to reverse engineer a really good prompt.
Ah, I see. So if you find a response you like,
Yeah,
you can use reverse prompting to figure out what kind of prompt led to that response.
exactly, and then you can use that prompt to get similar results in the future.
That's a really clever technique.
Okay, now let's talk about making our interactions with AI a bit more like a conversation.
Okay.
This next technique is called interactive prompting,
Interactive prompting.
and it's all about having a back and forth dialogue with the AI.
So it's not just a one-shot thing.
Yeah, you start with an initial prompt,
Okay.
and then you refine or clarify your query based on the AI's responses. So you're working together
I like that.
to get to a more accurate and detailed result.
Right?
The example here is designing a community garden.
Okay.
So you might start by suggesting a general layout.
Right.
The AI might give you some feedback or ask some clarifying questions, and then you respond with more specifics.
So it's an iterative process.
Exactly. You're building on each other's ideas,
That's cool.
and you're both contributing to the final design.
And I bet this could be used for all sorts of creative projects.
Oh, yeah. Definitely like writing a story or
Yeah.
composing music or even designing a product.
So interactive prompting is a way to make AI a more collaborative partner.
Exactly.
I love that.
Okay, now let's talk about goal-oriented prompting.
Goal-oriented.
This one is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's about having a very specific goal in mind
Right.
and then prompting the AI to help you achieve that goal. The example here is asking the AI to develop a plan to increase online sales of a handmade jewelry business by 25% in 6 months.
Okay, so that's a very specific goal.
Yeah, and it's also actionable.
Right.
Like you can actually measure whether or not you've achieved it.
That's important.
And the AI can help you break down that goal into smaller steps and come up with strategies for achieving each step.
So it's like having a business coach.
Yeah, kind of.
That's awesome.
And this type of prompting can be used for all sorts of goals,
Okay.
not just business goals.
Like what?
Like you could use it for personal development goals
Right.
or learning goals.
Right.
Or even just everyday goals.
I see.
Like getting organized or planning a trip.
So it's really about using AI to help you achieve your goals.
Exactly.
That's really powerful.
Okay, now let's talk about comparative prompting.
Comparative prompting.
And this technique is really useful for understanding different perspectives.
Okay.
It's basically about asking the AI to compare and contrast different concepts or ideas.
So you're asking it to highlight the similarities and differences.
Exactly.
Okay.
The example here is asking the AI to compare and contrast the leadership styles of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk.
Two very different leaders.
Yeah, and the AI could provide a really interesting analysis of their strengths and weaknesses.
And how their styles are similar and different.
Right.
That would be fascinating.
And this technique can be used for all sorts of comparisons. Like you could compare different historical periods or different scientific theories
Right.
or different artistic movements.
I see.
So comparative prompting is a great way to get a deeper understanding of different perspectives and to see how things relate to each other.
That's really helpful.
Okay, now let's talk about the importance of context.
Context.
This next technique is called contextual prompting.
Contextual prompting.
And it's all about giving the AI as much information as possible about the situation.
Right.
So that it can give you the most relevant and helpful response.
Makes sense.
The example here is asking the AI to develop a strategic plan for a small business.
Okay.
But instead of just asking for a generic plan,
Right.
you give the AI a ton of information about the business.
Like what kind of information?
Like the current economic climate,
Okay.
recent market trends, the company's specific resources and challenges.
You're painting a picture of the whole situation.
Exactly. And that helps the AI to develop a plan that's actually tailored to that specific business.
I see.
And this technique can be used for all sorts of things,
Right.
like writing a speech or creating a marketing campaign,
Right.
or even just having a conversation.
So contextual prompting is all about giving the AI the information it needs to understand the situation
Exactly.
and to give you the best possible response.
Okay, now let's talk about sequential prompting.
Sequential prompting.
And this is a technique for building up complex outputs gradually.
Okay.
It's about presenting a series of related prompts to the AI in a specific order
Okay.
to guide it through a process.
I see.
The example here is outlining the process of writing a research paper.
Okay.
So you might start by asking the AI to help you choose a topic.
Right.
Then you might ask it to help you develop an outline. Then you might ask it to help you draft different sections.
And so on.
Exactly. And each prompt builds on the previous one.
So you're breaking down a big task into smaller chunks.
Yeah, and the AI is helping you with each chunk.
That's a really good way to manage a complex project.
And this technique can be used for all sorts of creative projects, like writing a novel, or composing a symphony,
Right.
or even designing a building.
So sequential prompting is about using AI to help you manage complexity.
Exactly.
I love that.
Okay, now let's talk about exploratory prompting.
Exploratory prompting.
And this one is all about generating new ideas and exploring different possibilities.
Yeah.
It's about asking the AI to think outside the box and to come up with things that you might not have considered on your own.
I like that.
The example here is asking the AI to explore the potential impacts of artificial intelligence on the healthcare industry.
Okay, so a very broad topic.
Yeah, and you're not asking for a specific answer.
Right.
You're just asking the AI to brainstorm
I see.
and to come up with different ideas and perspectives.
That's cool.
And this technique can be used for all sorts of things,
Okay.
like brainstorming new product ideas or exploring different solutions to a problem, or even just coming up with creative writing prompts.
So exploratory prompting is about using AI to spark your own creativity.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Okay, now we're getting into some more advanced territory.
Okay.
Meta prompting.
Meta prompt.
And this is where things get really meta because you're essentially prompting the AI about how to prompt.
So you're asking it to help you write better prompts.
Exactly.
That's mind-blowing.
The example here is asking the AI to design a prompt that would guide it to create effective lesson plans for high school science classes.
Wow. So you're asking it to create a prompt for itself.
Yeah, and the source even gives an example of the kind of prompt the AI might generate.
Let's hear it.
Considering the principles of inquiry-based learning and incorporating the latest scientific discoveries, generate a detailed lesson plan for a high school biology class on the topic of genetics.
That's impressive.
Right, and that's just one example.
I bet the AI could come up with all sorts of amazing prompts.
Oh yeah, depending on what you ask it.
So meta prompting is like teaching the AI to be a better prompter.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Okay, we're also looking at iterative prompting.
Iterative prompting.
And this is similar to interactive prompting,
Okay.
but maybe with a stronger focus on refinement. So it's about continuously adjusting your prompts based on the AI's responses
I see.
to gradually get closer and closer to the desired outcome.
So it's like an ongoing process of improvement.
Exactly. You're making small tweaks and seeing how they affect the output.
Right.
The example here is developing a recipe for a healthy smoothie.
Okay.
So you might start with a basic request.
Right.
The AI gives you a recipe. Then you ask it to add nutritional information.
Okay.
Then you ask for variations for different dietary needs.
So you're refining the recipe step by step.
Exactly. And you're working with the AI to get it just right.
That's a great way to use AI for creative tasks.
And it shows that you don't always have to get it perfect on the first try. You can use AI to help you iterate and improve. Okay, and finally we have contrastive prompting.
Contrastive prompting.
And this one is about using opposites to help the AI understand what you're looking for.
Opposites.
Yeah, like you present contrasting examples or scenarios
Okay.
to highlight the key distinctions.
I see.
The example here is explaining the differences between introverts and extroverts.
Okay. Two very different personality types.
And you could do this by providing contrasting descriptions of their typical social behaviors and energy levels.
So you're showing the AI what each one is like.
Yeah, and what each one is not like.
Right.
And that helps the AI to understand the nuances of each concept.
That makes sense.
And this technique can be used for all sorts of things.
Okay.
Like explaining different political ideologies or different philosophical schools of thought.
Right.
Or even different types of art.
So contrastive prompting is about using contrast to help the AI understand subtle differences.
Exactly.
That's really helpful.
Wow, that was a lot of techniques.
It was.
And our sources even mention a bunch of other advanced ones.
Oh, wow.
Like multimodal prompting, which is using different types of input, like images or audio. Scenario-based prompting, which is crafting prompts based on specific situations.
Right.
Reflective prompting, where the AI actually reflects on its own responses.
That's wild.
And so many more.
It's amazing how much is possible with prompt engineering.
It really is.
And it just shows you how important it is to understand how to communicate effectively with AI.
Right, because the better you are at prompting,
Yeah.
the better the results you're going to get.
For sure.
So to wrap things up, this deep dive has given you a whole toolbox of prompt engineering techniques.
Yeah, a whole toolbox.
And if you've been feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed by AI,
Right.
these techniques can really help you to take control.
And to get the most out of these amazing tools.
Exactly. And whether you're a complete beginner or you've already been experimenting with AI for a while, these techniques can help you to level up your skills.
Absolutely.
And to start getting the results you really want.
I would encourage everyone to just pick one or two of these techniques.
Yeah.
And try them out.
Yeah, like start simple.
Right.
Maybe try adding, explain it like I'm 5 to a question.
Okay.
Or ask the AI to take on the role of your favorite teacher and just see how it changes the response.
That's a great idea.
The best way to learn is by doing.
For sure.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder.
Okay.
Now that you know how to guide AI with your words, what new possibilities does this unlock for you? For your learning, for your creativity, for your work?
It's really exciting to think about.
It is. It's like a whole new world of possibilities is opening up.
And it's all at our fingertips.
Exactly. So go out there and explore.
Yeah.
Experiment and have fun.
And see what you can create.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a blast.
It has.
And we'll see you next time.
See you.